Welcome to Health Coach for Women. Intentional living for more happiness and fulfillment in your everyday life with your host, Marsha Roopchand-Walker. Join Marsha as she shares her own personal wellness journey, as well as stories from our guests that will enlighten and inspire you to move towards better health and happiness. Now, here's your host, Marsha Roopchand-Walker.
Welcome to another episode of Health Coach for Women. Thank you for tuning in today. Today I want to talk to you about waking up and not staying asleep. I notice that many people now are really beginning to wake up. They're really beginning to see the truth. And that is a good thing. Because when we can see the truth about the things that appears to be reality, we realize that it is nothing but lies, and we have to be open to the truth and be part of the change to make change on the planet. And so what do I mean by that? I'm meaning if you notice that people are becoming more aware, right? More aware about the things that's happening on the planet, not just on the planet, but things that they've been told, things that they've been taught, and they're starting to see the truth. They're starting to see that. They're starting to wake up, which, again, I say is a good thing. And so we know certain things, right? We know, and I don't want to get on this topic too much, but I guess I have to touch on it a little bit. There's so much things that people are waking up, and because you can't hide the truth forever, people are waking up and seeing the truth about certain things that's happening, right, in the media and around the world. And so I want to talk about Black Wall Street, just a brief thing on Black Wall Street, if you never heard about Tulsa, the massacre that occurred in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Right. And this was some years ago. I forget the year. I believe it was 1921. Don't quote me. I'm not too sure on that. But the purpose of me bringing this up is because what happened in this community, matter of fact, it was 1921. What happened, this community of African Americans, right, were self-sufficient. Were independent. They had their own state. They had their own banks, their own stores, and things like that. Once slavery was over and they had freedom, they were able to build their own shops and support one another in their community. And the tragic thing that happened with that was the race riot, and there was this terrible massacre, right, where they wiped out, killed many people and wiped out the businesses and changed the growth of that community. They were doing so well. And so now people are seeing more of the truth about that and the racial injustice that's happening. And you're probably wondering, well, what does all of this have to do with my health? What does all of this have to do with my joy, my wellness? Well, I say if you're anything like me and you're a person who cares about people, right, and care about humanity, then it has a lot to do with you. Because once you can realize and see the truth and you understand that you have a greater purpose, things become clear, right? Things become clear to you. And so because we are all connected, it's important to you as well. It is important for your well-being simply because it could be something you're waking up. You could be a part of that change that is to come about to help humanity, right? To help humanity, how you express yourself or whatever thing you do, you find your passion. That passion is something that evolves to something so great and so grand that it is helping not just you, right? Not just the happiness and joy that it does for you, but what it does for others, right? What it does for others. And as you begin to evolve as a spiritual being and knowing that you are a spiritual being, having this human experience, you want to do more. And you begin to understand when you start to develop that self-awareness, things begins to change. Things will begin to change in your life. And one of the key things is when people are wondering, people often wonder, well, what am I here? Why am I here? There is a purpose, right? And everything has a purpose. And when we look at the ecosystem and the animals and things and, how certain things balance things out, we know that the trees cleans the air, rebreathes. Also, it's the place for the animals to have their nests, right? The birds, the squirrels, etc. Right? So everything has a purpose. Everything. Whether we realize that or not. You are part of this grand design to have this experience and to do something while you are here. And I'm always talking about really living rather than just existing, right? Because sometimes we go through our life where the whole thing is that, we just have to live and provide and take care of our families and that's it. No, there's much more to it than that, right? There's much more to it than that. Life is full of so many twists and turns, right? And ups and downs. And we know this. But it's being able to adapt. Again, like I talked about this before, being able to adapt through the times of adversity and being able to overcome that. But what's happening now is this, with everything that's going on right now, with the stuff that's happening in Israel, with the Palestinians and the Jews and everything, everything that's happening, just all over the world, right? And, I'm not one to watch much of the news, right? But I still try to kind of understand and keep up with some of the world's global events because simply I want to be informed, but not informed where I am locked in 24/7 and it becomes to deplete my energy. And so I don't do that for that reason. So, when people are beginning to wake up, when the veil is lifted and you're beginning to see things that's happening around the world and realizing that the enemy wants to keep us divided, right? And to keep us in separation, either through our cultural, religious beliefs, whatever it is, all the different things, or our political views, right, and beliefs, right? And so even the situation that happened at the White House, right, that was something, unheard of. And so we have to really keep our spirituality strong. We need to be, because of so many things, it can really, really drain us to a point of bringing us to a point of depression, right? And even with the whole COVID situation and the vaccines and some people have died from the vaccines and some people had some symptoms such as, feeling the symptoms of the COVID with the flu and fatigue and stuff like that, right? So there's so much things going on in the world, not to mention the things that are not talked about, right? The things that are not talked about with people, with the whole thing of children showing up missing, right? Sex trafficking that's happening, organ donors selling organs. People may think that this stuff is fake. No, it's real. It's really happening. And there's a lot more happening in the world than just reality TV and looking nice on Instagram and up this facade of whatever, right? There's much more going on than that. So people are beginning to wake up, and with the whole George Floyd situation, this woke a lot of people up. And so because when you're actually seeing it, it's like, okay, this is really happening, right? This is really happening to another human being, regardless of his race. This is happening to a human being. And so we have to say, well, when is enough enough? When is enough enough? And when are we going to stick together and stand up for something that is right? When are we going to stick together and band together for injustice, right? For injustice, and band together as one. And when we unite as one, we are such more of a powerful force, so much more of a powerful force when we unite together as one. And this is what's happening now. Many people is making the shift of waking up spiritually, and going through this transformation, right? This evolution, this change, again, which I say is a good thing, because when we begin to understand who we are and know who we are, we know the place of where we fit into this world, right? And on this planet. And it's so important and that's why, you have people in so many different areas of life, and the missions and the work and what they're doing. You have people who want to keep our oceans clean, and save the animals and from the plastic that's being ingested by the animals and the fishing nets. Then, I love and appreciate these people who are out there doing these things. They're out there getting a team together, or even if they have to do it by themselves, one person can make a difference. One person can bring about change. So when I speak about these things of the massive shift of waking up, right? It's not just, it's for yourself, which is great, right? Because you are developing this self-awareness, and you're coming into knowing who you are and who you can become. And on top of that, the grander thing is understanding your place in this universe, right? And understanding where you fit in. And so it's a gradual process, all right? It's a gradual process that happens. And again, there's so much evil out there in the world. We need people to band together in love, band together in unity, and band together we are strength in numbers. So we have to come together to fight the enemy at hand. And I don't mean fighting like going to war. I mean fighting with our voice, right? For change, standing up for change, doing something that is meaningful and beneficial, doing something that is going to bring about some type of change. If we stay silent, nothing changes. If we stay quiet, nothing changes, right? We give the enemy the power to do what they want to do. And so we have to always take care of ourselves, right? And I say that all the time. We have to take care of ourselves. It's important, as well as our families, as well as our children and our spouses and things like that, our mates. We have to do those things. We have to nourish ourselves with good things that will bring us more joy and fulfillment, right? We have to nourish ourselves with positivity, right? And raising that frequency, raising that vibration. And you know that I don't know if you know this, but even the earth vibrates. You can look that up. The earth even vibrates. And when someone sings a high note, this very high note, this high frequency note when they're singing, and they can shatter a glass, that's frequency, that's vibration. The sound is so powerful that it can shatter a glass and break a glass. So you want to operate at a higher frequency, that higher frequency of love, that higher frequency of unity and love, because the highest is love, right? And being able to unite as one, being able to come together as one, to fight for something for our families as well as humanity, right? As well as humanity, because we want to change the story for our young ones to come up, young ones coming up. We've been taught so many different things growing up, right? Get a good job, go to school, get a good job, get a good government job, right? Money is the root of all evil. So many different things, right? We've been taught growing up. And so when you're willing to expand your mind and think outside of the box, there is so much out there for you to know and understand and develop that wisdom, right? And because knowledge is great, but you don't need to have all the knowledge. You just need to have the pertinent knowledge that applies to you, right? And so, and this is how you develop that wisdom, right? This is how you develop wisdom. And I'm continuously learning and growing. Continuously learning and growing. And as I do so, I share that with others so that you can see that even though, there are some people now that's, they're in their 30s and they feel like they're so old and they may not have accomplished nothing. And you may have some people who are in their 40s and 50s, right? And may feel the same way. It's not about that, right? And you may feel like you haven't accomplished much. But the fact that you're still breathing, you're still here, you still have a chance to get it right? You still have a chance to make things right and do something meaningful with your life. And I always tell someone, I will always tell anyone, whatever you do, be passionate about it, right? It may not be something that you are so into right now, and it's not something that you truly desire, right? Maybe you work at, the railroad station and you do housekeeping, right? Well, we need those people, right? We need those people to help keep the place clean, right? And say they are just as important as someone who owns the actual building. So we need to look at people and not look at them on the surface level and judging people. We need to look past that. We don't need to be judging anyone, right? We don't need to judge anyone, let alone judging ourselves, because we know that we are our own worst critic, right? We are our own worst critic. Let's look at things from a different perspective, a different pair of lens, and start seeing beneath the surface. Start seeing behind the lies, right? Start seeing with this new vision of love, of operating from a place of love rather than fear, right? And let's not be fearful of the things that we are being told. We need to be informed. Yes, I agree. We need to be informed on what's going on. And that's why I tell people all the time, you can't always believe mainstream media, right? And some things that you're not so sure about, that's what Google is for. Google it. Look up the information. Do your own research, right? Do your own research on looking up things and information. And so if we begin to just take time to do some inner reflection, right? Our own soul searching, we can see and develop a lot of things and have a better understanding of the world in which we live in, right? Having a better understanding. And having that understanding of knowing that things around us are important, right? The things and the trees and the creatures and the animals, they all are just as important, right, as you and I. And they have a purpose, and And we need them just as they need us, right? We need them just as they need us. And so I know some people say, well, really, how? Yeah. No, we need the trees because the trees help clean the air that we breathe, right? And they need us because they would like for us to keep them alive and stop chopping down the trees. So, and the animals would appreciate it too if you could not destroy their homes, right? By always cutting down trees. So that was just a little humor, but there's some truth in that, right? I'm being real here. But, and there's so much that I could talk about. There's so much that I could say, but I know I can't say it all on this episode here today. I really just want people to understand that when you really get to know who you are and you really get to understand yourself, right? And develop that self-love, you can have that and express that to others in the process. And it's that sense of knowing, right? And making that shift. And so more and more people are waking up now. More and more people are waking up on the planet. A shift is happening right now, right? There's a shift happening right now. And some of you may or may not see it, but a shift is happening right now. Things are happening and changing as we speak, as far as change within the government and laws being in place. Things are happening and changing right now. I agree and believe for the better. Now, more bad may happen in the process, which is part of it that has to happen in order to bring us where we need to be, if that makes sense. So, for example, in order to bring about change in a person, right, they have to go through some things because maybe they're not doing it on their own, right? They're not making this change on their own, or the decisions and choices that they make are keeping them stuck where they are. And so it has to be this experience in this point where to bring them to a part where change now is it's a must, right? Change now is a must. And so that person has to change and become in order to bring in the new experience that's going to elevate them even higher and for them to change for the better, if that makes any sense. All right. So if you have someone, I will just use an example. If you have someone, maybe this person is an alcoholic and a gambler, and he lost his family, right? He lost his family, he lost everything. And now he was brought to his weakest moment, his weakest point. And so he had an awakening, from losing the very thing that he loved so much, more than the gambling, more than the drinking, was his family, losing his family. That he had to go through that process in order to bring that change for him to make changes in his life, to give up the drinking, give up the gambling, and give those things up. And to just lose it all. And he had to go through that process of losing everything in order to gain everything, right? And to possibly maybe regain his relationship with his children and maybe build a better relationship with his wife, or maybe it would just be a new beginning, a whole new start with someone else, right? And we know that these things happen. So sometimes you have to go through all the rough things and the rough, harsh truths about things in order for the better things to come, and for you to change for better things to come in order for it to happen in your life and to improve. Sometimes we have to go through that. And so we have to continue to just really continue to doing the best we can for ourselves, right? The best we can for ourselves and loving ourselves and taking care of ourselves, taking care of our bodies, right? And being that vessel, being that source of good for ourselves and other people. Because again, you're not here to just exist, right? And to just breathe air and go to work and come home, go to sleep, eat, that same routine. You're much more powerful being than that. You're much more than that. And when you can see that, and when you can understand that, and really know that you play an important piece here on the planet, you are an important piece, whether you realize it or not. You have to understand it, and you have to know that that you are valuable, and you definitely have something to share and offer the world, whether it's you using your voice in some type of way, using your gifts and talents. And I talked about that before, using your gifts and talents and not letting them get buried with you, right? And wondering of the stories of what if I did this? What if I could have done this? Well, you still have time, right? You still have time to go ahead and do the things that you want to do that brings you that joy and brings you that fulfillment in your life. And it's just learning how to adapt through the rough times, I had to learn it, right? I've learned it. And no one here on this planet is without going through some type of hardship or trials. It's just a part of life. It is just a part of life. But when you can move forward past that and you can learn how to manage and adapt, you'll be okay, right? And we all know that every day is not going to be a perfect day. Every day is not going to be a great day. But we do the best we can in the process. We do the best we can. And so that is all I have to say and talk about on this episode today. I hope you've gotten something out of it. And I don't do anything scripted or write anything when I'm speaking. I'm just speaking for what's coming through as I'm speaking, what message that I want to bring and talk about when I'm doing something, unless I'm doing something specific on nutrition, diet, and research. I will have my notes. But I'm just speaking freely on things that people need to know and people need to hear. You need to know and need to hear that you have a purpose. You play a major part in this world, whether you see it now or see it later. Know that you are loved, you're valued and appreciated, and your old story, you can bury that old story of all the things that you've been through in your life and create a new story, have a new story, because you are loved. You are powerful beyond measure. You are perfectly imperfect, and that's okay. Until next time, my friends, bye for now.
Thank you so much for listening to Health Coach for Women with your host, Marsha Roopchand-Walker. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please be sure to rate, subscribe, and review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate that effort. Until next time.